we've got another special guest here, one that's a little bit closer to this region, and come all the way from Aspen, but came all the way from Golden Bay. And, you know, someone that's really dear to a lot of us here, because without his support, you know, some of us wouldn't have had the journey that we've had. And he's supported a lot of people in New Zealand, Australia, America, all over the place. So I want to welcome up Manfred Raunig from Golden Bay to share his business story.
Wow, Golden Bay is nearly as beautiful as Aspen.
It was today. Just come back from over here.
Yeah, it's always hard to fit this story into this tiny little frame of time because the story is that long. So, I had a successful career as a classical musician in Austria, and I know for most people who know classical music and like classical music, that's a very romantic thing, like successful Austrian classical musician. But when I was there doing it, it was quite a tight straitjacket. Like there wasn't any freedom at all in it. If you're Austrian and you play Mozart, you can't express yourself freely. You get jammed into this is how we do it. And so, yeah, I went all the way to conducting the orchestra thinking that's where the freedom was, and I found there was 6 rows of critics waiting for you to make a mistake. So there was no freedom in it for me. And I'm all about freedom. So I took a year off and traveled around the world, and I got halfway and found freedom. Wow, these people here, they were building trucks on the back of houses on the backs of trucks and drive around the country. Anybody could do anything. You know? So in Austria, I found my line of freedom was very tight, and in New Zealand it was like that wide open. I could be anything I said I could be. In Austria, you need a license for everything you say you are. It's getting that way here too. So I found this freedom. 30-some years ago I came here, and one of the first people I met who was shining bright, like I'd never seen anybody shine that bright, you know, that was Krista. She was eating raw food and spirulina and all those things I had no idea about, and we talked about nutrition and health and detox. I didn't know I had any toxins in me. No, nutrition was never talked about. Food is what comes on the table and you eat it. So I had no idea about health, but I was healthy. And so I got more and more interested in health improvements and healing modalities and meeting all these amazing people. There's no way I was going to go back and be a classical musician in Austria. This life was freer for me. And so I took that to the extreme where I lived in a self-sufficient lifestyle, money wasn't the focus, and basically became a hermit. And after 2 years alone, I found another hermit, a female one, and then there was 2 of us. And we thought we had just given up on the world. And a few years later, I was in that self-sufficient life in the bush and down the west coast for 10 years. And my wife was hormonally infertile, so we've accepted we won't have kids, and we're just 2 adults doing what they enjoy doing, growing food and eating it. And then she had this early menopause symptoms, with 47, and she thought that was a bit early. And it was menopause until it was definitely moving, which was about 3 months into the menopause. And so this was this big shock, surprise, you know, like, what are we going to do now? Because we hadn't focused on money and career at all. We both had our career and given it away. So there I was in the Buller Gorge, sitting there having this beautiful little girl come out. And I knew I had to change again. And I could go back to all my security. You know, it's always easy to go backwards because I had some degrees and some experience here. But classical musician meant living in a city, and there was no way I was going to go back to the city life. So I was sitting there for 2 years waiting for an opportunity to come my way that I had a big enough yes. And I knew we needed to make money. And after about 2 years, this beautiful person comes by, a friend of a friend, talks to me about network marketing. And I've never sold anything, and I definitely wasn't a salesperson or a marketing person. But the conversation was a bit more what Michael and Krista are talking about here. It was about freedom and time. And everything what Michael said here today, I had a big yes to. I just didn't have the way. The bridge was missing. Wealth was over there for other people. And I was the richest man on the planet because I could live without money, but it was taken away from me by having a child. It wasn't sustainable to live without money. So I saw the bridge, and I saw the canyon was deep, and the bridge was not solid. You know, it was like I jumped from here to there, and there was a long way down, and I wasn't going to fail because I had this 2-year-old girl looking at me every day, and I started this business. So we started that 14 years ago in Golden Bay, a few of us, and it wasn't easy, and it was work, and the main work was to all of a sudden be looked at as a salesperson. You know, like when I talked to my friends before about health, they took what I said for truth. When I started talking about a product, they took what I said as sales pitch. And I think that's probably the hardest thing for everyone who starts this business, is that the way people feedback, are you trying to sell me something? When all I'm trying to do is help them have a better life. And so I continued and found a few people who were really interested and worked with them. And so I came out of the bush with no assets, no bank account, no tax number, never done any job, you know, and no inheritance coming, and having this baby, and I'm now 56, and I don't owe anybody anything, and I've got a beautiful piece of land in Golden Bay. And I've taken my little girl, who is now nearly 17, around the world 5 times, back to my family in Austria, and to the Life Force convention. She knows all she knows the owners, she knows everybody in Life Force, and she can't wait to be 18 to do this, because she knows what it really is, you know, like, she grew up with it. So we've been traveling together, and the thing was, I never wanted to have to say to my child, we can't afford this. That should never be a reason to say no, because that was everything I ever wanted. I grew up as a single mom, as a secretary, and most of the things I wanted, we couldn't afford. And all the goodies were sometime in the future, maybe. And so I made myself that goal that I didn't want to say, no, we can't afford it. And I'm standing here, I can say, you can ask my daughter, I've never once said to her, we can't afford this. And so that financial freedom is within reach. It's just, it's scary to jump from here to there, looking at this canyon of if I'm not succeeding, I'm going to end up down there. That was my only alternative. And I jumped, and I got to the other side within 2 years, basically. Within 2 years, I had what people call a 6-figure income, and that's now 12 years ago, and it's been going up. It's never gone down. And I'd like to say, if I can do it, anybody can, because I didn't grow up here. I had no experience in business at all, and I hardly knew any people, because I'd just been in the bush for 10 years, and I needed people to join me. So this business it's an interesting structure. Like, people sometimes or often think of a pyramid. And Michael talked about entrepreneurial. I didn't know what an entrepreneur was, because in school they never mentioned the word once. Right? Our school system educates us to fit into the pyramid scheme that's out there, that's called corporate business structure. Right? So even in the orchestra, it's a pyramid. I got to the top by becoming the conductor, but everything is this pyramid shape. And the whole school system that we all conditioned by is sorting us out to see where we fit into the pyramid. So if you're really good at school, you can start a little bit higher in that pyramid, but there's this very straight structure, and you either start at the bottom and work yourself up a little bit, or some people are quite happy to stay on the bottom. And if you got good education, you can start a little bit higher and work your way up, but it gets very narrow and it's very competitive. And entrepreneurs don't fit into that. And so now I know that what the problem with me was all the way through school was I was an entrepreneur. I wasn't the slave that fits into this structure, and I never really felt comfortable there. And now I'm trying to point out to people that there's actually freedom outside of this structure. Yeah, if you're happy in it, it's great, but if you're not happy in it, there's a structure that's the other way around, and it's called network marketing. Here, in the corporate structure, there's one person at the top, the CEO or the president, who earns about roughly an average 4,000 times what the workers at the bottom earn. Right? Well, in this business, you start for hardly any money. You start a business where you are at the top of the structure as well as at the bottom. You're the CEO and the president of a new company, and you're also the toilet cleaner. Right? You're everything. The highest and the lowest, and it's all potential. And you can't hire anybody, you can't fire anybody, you can't tell anybody what to do, but you have to attract people who, by their free will, join you, try this product for 3 months, and if they don't like them, or if they don't like the training we give, the support we give, for whatever reason, within 3 months they can just get their money back and stop again. So you have to attract people who are the right people, who will come on the journey and go all the way. And those people out there, there's more and more every day who wake up and think they don't fit into that pyramid anymore that we started. So I invite you to check that out. Feel if you're free enough the way life is, or if you'd like to be freer, have a